You're listening to the Detroit is Different podcast network.
It's phenomenal. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's highly probable we're not prepared. Love is unstoppable. I'm not concerned. We gonna be straighted in perms. Yep. Me in the germ. I talk with God and he confirm everything good. We can bank on his word.
Sunshine, you came and changed your life. You don't know what you did. You made our lives better than before.
Elle, my angel. I'm grateful to God.
Welcome back to the Piper Carter podcast. You are listening to Piper Carter. Yes, we are here with our illustrious co-host. What's up, Brittany?
Peace, Piper Carter. How are you?
I'm good. Good to hear your voice. What's up, Jaira?
Hey, everyone.
And we have an amazing guest, one of our most incredible artists that has been doing just great things over the last, let's say, this part of the decade, and just doing more great things and just transforming lives wherever she goes. Welcome, Mahogany Jones.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so happy to be back home, to be with family. Happy to be a guest on the Piper Carter podcast, especially considering that this is the 100th episode. So, I mean, actually, no, this is beyond the 100th episode. What episode is this?
I think it's like 116 or something like that.
Pretty gangster. So really happy to be a guest.
Well, Mahogany, I must say, this is really cool for us to be bringing in Women's History Month, even though we're 2 weeks in. That to have a guest like you during this month is epic, right? When we talk about Women's History Month, right? We go back. I mean, Piper's gonna get into it. I mean, emceeing is an understatement, right? We talk about freestyling, right? The art of freestyling, and we talk about, true hip hop lyricism. I mean, I think your picture should be in a dictionary next to it. So we are very excited to have you on the show. In general, right? In general, but thank you for bringing your energy within Women's History Month as we celebrate.
Yeah, I'm honored. I think I learned so much about what it means to be a woman in this genre and to be an advocate, just from Piper, and just so many others who I've had just the privilege to kind of just like be a part of movements with. So yeah, I'm happy. We out here, we doing it. We got 2 more weeks to go to celebrate. And of course, just like Black History Month is all year round, right? But yeah, I'm definitely just grateful. So let's get it.
All right, awesome. So, well, as usual, we want to get into some of the more ritual parts of our show so that we can have some understanding of what's going on in our world. So with that, Jaira, take it away with the tech report, my friend.
All right. Let me pull up this real quick. One sec.
You there, Jaira?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry. I was trying to pull up the facts. Okay. So, I want to talk about drones a little bit. Considering what happened to me last week, I unfortunately got my drone stuck in a tree during a music video shoot. And,
no! Oh my God! Did you get it out?
Yeah, luckily I was able to get it out. I paid for someone to get it out, even though I got the fire department, but all they did was just spray it with water, which didn't help at all. But I want to talk about a new drone that just recently came out. It's called the DJI FPV, which stands for First Person View. And these drones are they're meant for like racing and having like competition as far as zipping through the air, doing tricks in the air during these competitions. But this one has gone more mainstream for people that like an average person that just want to fly a drone for the experience. or just people who already have drone experience and just want to have the more free will to do flips in the air, to go at least like 60 miles per hour, and just do things that normal drones can't possibly do, with like the different acrobatics that the new drone has. Also, it features a new pair of goggles that these racing drones usually have, that you wear to while flying. And let me see. Also, the reason why I want to talk about it is because drones in general are becoming more popular. A lot of more people are being more attracted to them than they used to be. I want to know do you all feel about it? Are you scared of drones? If you were to see one, how do you all react when you see one, like someone using them during like a photo shoot, or just just having fun with it?
Well, for me, the drone is very much a part of our, photo shoot experience. It's kind of something that most clients kind of just expect you to have nowadays. So I'm kind of used to it too, because P Groove is always flying his drone. He's always buying drones. We have at least, I don't know, something like 10 or 15 drones around this house now. He has a really nice one now with a really amazing camera. So for me, drones are pretty normal, but it's because I do photography. But I'm not sure how, yeah, like people who don't do photography, I'm not sure how folks receive drones in that way.
I mean, I
I
get how
mean,
people can see them as invasive. And I think especially if you're not doing photography, then it's like, okay, well, what exactly are you using your drone to take surveillance of? So I get how that could be creepy, but I mean, I can't front. We just did a video shoot for my song Floating, and it was just like, I wanted the drone to be on deck at all times because the shots that it catches and just the aerial views are just out of this world, right? Like how the fact that you can achieve something like that, or that we've come to a place in technology where it's just like you can get a view like that and you don't necessarily have to physically be in a plane, or you know what I mean, like to capture shots like that, I think is pretty fresh. But I mean, all other intents purposes, I get how I can feel a little Illuminati-ish, a little creepy.
No, I completely understand that. I just wanted to get everyone's point of view on how they feel about them, because there are instances where people do use them for evil or not good. So you do have to be somewhat careful with them, because some people are kind of in a way sensitive to them. Like I've had experiences sometimes where some people like actually get frightened from them. Like when I used to fly my drone sometimes, and I'll like fly it in like a residential area, I'll see some people just like actually get scared from it. Like they like jump, or they just be looking at it as if it's an alien or something like that. But little do people know that there are drones that the military use, and they fly them around residential, not necessarily residential areas, but they fly them above us like all day. And there was recently a drone attack in, like, I'm trying to figure out where it was at, but there was recently a drone attack in, I'm trying to
I
find.
think I heard about it. Was it the Middle East?
Yeah, there was a recent drone attack there, and a lot of people were upset about it, due to they killed innocent people. But the American forces, they thought it was a threat there, but there are videos on YouTube, as far as like through Vice News, they had a report on it where they were speaking to children about the whole incident and how they felt about it, and they were very upset due to them saying they were just attacked when they weren't doing anything. They were just innocent, and the military, the American military, had other words to say towards that, as far as that there was a threat to there's a threat there, but I don't
Yeah,
know
I mean,
how
oh, go ahead,
what's that?
Jara. Go
Oh no, you
ahead.
can go ahead.
Well, I was just saying that, you know, these, so the drones they have now with the military, you can't even see them.
Yeah, I know.
That's how sneaky they are. They're like so thin, and just it's really, I mean, we're being surveilled, like almost 100% of our lives we're being surveilled, um and it's crazy. And even now, like, majority of the things that the nefarious things that they do, they can do them just from the computer, or just from a something that looks like a video game, or a drone. And so it just it makes it a bit more so that the person doesn't have to feel like they're doing something terrible, you know what I mean? And that's what makes it, just it's it's disheartening. It's like people don't even know that the so-called life that Americans lead is all in the backs of other people in other countries that pay the price because of what the military does to uphold capitalism. Um it's it's crazy. Yeah, so on that end, like all these military drones and these corporate drones, like, no, I'm not for all that kind of stuff. And even they try to make you a criminal, right? Like if you fly your drone too high, or you fly into like a restricted space. I know, like,
Yeah.
you fly in a certain space in Detroit, even like downtown, or even like on the north end, even now, it's like restricted. You'll get like a restriction warning, you know?
Yeah, you
It,
can't even fly it over the science center.
yeah, and like what's at the science center now? That's got me curious.
Yeah, no, it's weird how they don't allow you to fly it over the science center.
Yeah, that's something to dig into.
Yeah. But no, there's but drones are evolving, and the fact that a lot of people that control the drones, like in the military, for instance, aren't even nowhere near, they're like in a different country or in a different state, flying these drones all over the place. And these drones are huge. They're like the drones that the military use are like the size of a commercial plane. They're huge. Like people don't understand how big they are, but they are pretty huge. But you don't really see them because they're so high up in the air, and they just hold tons and tons of like arsenal to, like, for instance, like just destroy something within seconds. Like somebody's entire village can be gone within like a split second, just from
And
someone
like, why
pushing a
would you
button.
even want to, like, why would anyone even want to conceive of anything like that, right? Like, that's the evil part. Why would it, why
Yeah.
would that be something like, oh yeah, and then not just like the conception, but like, oh yeah, let's get money and like fund that, like that part. Like that's the part that's like, man, like that, just the evil of that is ridiculous. And for what? It's so that they can control those resources, and like I said, uphold capitalism, so that people over here can pay, I don't know, $2.19 for gas or something ridiculous like that,
Yeah.
But yeah, I know I'm always Debbie Downer with that stuff.
No, I mean, that's that's the reality. And I think that's what is so scary, and I think, even though this is not necessarily connected, but I think it's just that thinking in itself, right, that has us just so wary or cautious of all things technology or all new medical developments, because it's kind of like, okay, you're saying you're using it for this, but what is the ultimate, like, what's the ultimate goal? Like, what do you really want to do? And I guess, I don't know, like, even just with the whole
I
vaccine,
agree.
you know what I mean?
With the whole what, Mahogany?
just even with the whole idea of just whether or not to take the vaccine, right? It's kind of like, okay, what is the end to the means? Like, how did this even all start? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like I feel like there's so many things that happen covertly that the government issues or releases that have like, they have an ultimate end game in mind, you know, that just involves just a certain level of control that is just, it's just pretty scary.
It's pretty scary. Oh man,
Yeah,
we could talk
I
about this
agree.
forever. Oh, go ahead, Brittany.
No, I was just gonna agree with Mahogany. It seems as if everything that happens in our society with people with power, everything serves a dual purpose. It's like they don't even want to do it if it doesn't serve a dual purpose.
Make money. Yeah. So, well, thank you for that report, Jaira.
You're welcome.
I don't know if did you want to say any more?
No, I pretty much said everything that, you know, I had on my mind and wanted to share with everyone.
Yeah, so thanks for bringing us that report. Brittany, what did you want to bring?
You know, just to keep our theme of this show of Women's Month, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the woman boxer Clarissa Shields that's based in Flint, Michigan.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, she's awesome, right? And she again, she's based in Flint, and you know, one of the things that Clarissa is known for is wearing the color blue in her hair. Uh, she says that she's always going to wear the color blue until the crisis in Flint is fixed. And we all know, though, even though that it's not being covered through mainstream media, that water and the pipes being replaced are not even close to being finished or fixed. So shout out to her for finding a way. We talk about dual purposes for the good, finding a way to do her social justice work along with boxing. So Clarissa Shields has made a lot of news lately. I don't know, Piper, if you follow, because you're so rooted in social media, but she has a lot of celebrity friends, one of them being Halle Berry. And I think it's pretty cool that other women that have, positions of power and that have been in the entertainment field support her. I think it's super cool. And I'd say the couple months ago, the last few months, she had been thinking about dabbling in women's UFC, actually extending her art form into doing mixed martial arts. I think personally it was rooted in her wanting to make more money and getting more I would say promotion, just because women boxing took a peak right when Layla Ali was boxing. But since Layla, I would say it's kind of been on the downskirt. And so when we talk about, we talk about the WNBA a lot, Mahogany, and how women need to support it. The marketing and the advertising needs to be better. So it's almost the same thing as women's boxing. It's not generating a lot of revenue. So the women on the end are not making nearly as much money as male boxers. But they're working just as hard, they're training just as hard, they're following the same regiments, just not nowhere near making the same amount of money. So for those reasons, I think that's why Clarissa wanted to step into UFC. Just because of how amazing she is at boxing. I personally think she can do anything, right? But UFC is a little bit different. I'm not a fan of Dana White, the owner of UFC. I think he's beyond greedy. I don't think he cares about his fighters. So I like Clarissa as a boxer. So with that being said, March 5th, which was a couple weeks ago, Clarissa took the ring and made history. She was able to that night unify the WC, the WO, IBF, the WBA Super Junior Middleweight World Champion by scoring a one-side 10-round unanimous decision against a lady by the name of Marie-Eve Decaire, who was also almost undefeated. Clarissa's record right now is 11-0 with 2 knockouts, which is just absolutely amazing. The other thing that she uniquely did in this fight, she took a page out of Floyd Mayweather's book. She's starting her own promotion. She feels as if she has the resources. Like I said to you guys, she has a lot of women entertainers that promote her, that love her, that come to her fights, pre-COVID. And so she wants to channel that energy and tap on that market to do her own promotion. So this was her first fight where she promoted the fight, which means that the money that was gained from the fight went almost directly into her pocket, versus her having to pay a promoter, her have to pay for marketing. So not only did she get the win, she also had a success with promoting her first fight. So I think that's pretty cool. I think when we translate things, when we look at music, when we talk about Bandcamp, and when we talk about other applications or the art of being an independent artist, I think that is a beautiful place for us right now in 2021 when we're talking about drones and media and independent marketing firms. And I think that the resources are within the Black community, specifically amongst women, right? Women are doing all kind of things. You have women DJs, you have women producers, you have women directors, you have women who own organizations for other women who are doing these amazing things. So to hear Clarissa kind of take a step and out of, I think, the music book and kind of take matters into her own hand, I think that it's more than just boxing when we take a look at this. So happy Women's History Month. And I think Clarissa is going to make some amazing history. I don't know if her and Layla Ali should fight. A lot of people want them to fight just because of it bringing more attention to women's boxing. But not all good money is, not all money is good money. Not all promotion is good promotion. So I think that it'd be entertaining somewhat, but I don't know if they need to do that to push the art form. So that's my piece when it comes to Clarissa Shields.
I feel like with Layla, isn't she a different like age and weight class?
She is.
She's definitely a different age and weight class. And from what I heard in the past, that they've kind of not seen eye to eye like that, that Layla was like Clarissa's like idol. And at first they were cool, but then they've had some sort of rift. So I feel like out of respect, like if they were to make amends and it was like clean, and if, I feel like maybe a fight, but I do feel like that's strange. I mean, but then again, who's the young tennis star that Serena just had a match against and lost?
Oh yeah, Naomi.
Right?
That's such a good point.
Naomi, exactly. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, Serena, she's older, skilled, she's established, right? And then she, gave, she and Naomi had their run, right? So I don't know.
So true.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a good perspective, Mahogany. Yeah, I think
maybe.
I didn't even look at it that way. Yeah.
So what you saying, Mahogany? You said so what?
I'm saying that if they were able to if they were able to like make amends and show like, okay, we support each other and it, it's like, it's a clean fight. That's it. I think if it was like a clean fight, I think as far as like intention goes, that it might be something that is not bad for the sport. And I think is good. I mean, I think that it is true with such a tremendous age difference. That's kind of rough because I'm just kind of like, okay, yeah, like physically, does that make sense?
And what were you saying, Brittany?
I think Mahogany's point is a great perspective. I mean, it would be better, like, Mike Tyson did an exhibition against Roy Jones Jr., right? It was a clean fight. They have such amazing respect, and it was a decent fight. And so I think the cleaner the better. I think that beyond the animosity, if they were to just have a good fight, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea. And then I think the point that Mahogany made about Naomi and Serena, sometimes it's just part of the game. When you're goated and you're in shape, you're still going to be playing, right? So that's Serena. And Naomi is, they say she's the younger version of Serena. So I think that's good, clean tennis, right? Two Black women, right? Who, two different levels, fighting against, not fighting, but playing tennis against each other, So I guess I can't be too negative about Layla and Clarissa fighting, but I think some of my pullback from it was the animosity that Mahogany just brought up that they have against each other, between each other.
I feel like if it's an exhibition, that would be good. But I feel like if it was an actual fight, I feel like that's not fair to the sport because of the, the sport is
the differences.
Yeah, I feel like, like that's what I felt was okay about the Tyson Roy Jones thing, like that made sense because it was an exhibition. But as an like an actual fight, like that fight doesn't make sense to me. And the same thing, you know? Um yeah, so I'm really hoping too that, like you said, Layla's gonna always be legendary, mostly because of her father. Now she's an amazing boxer. Can't take any of that away from her. She's done a lot of great things. She's a wonderful fighter. I love her. Like, I'm a huge fan, but she was able to catapult because of who her dad is, right? And so with that, I will say that for a long time, it was just Layla in terms of like, who can you name, in women's boxing? And so now that, Clarissa's here, I'm hoping that that will usher in, an entire, I want to say like generation of people that where the sport could stay, highlighted in that type of way. I will say that I'm a huge boxing fan of all the sports. Boxing's actually my number one. It's boxing and then basketball. But I will say this. So many of the people that I talk to, like all the social justice people, they hate boxing because, the violence, it's barbaric, but also because of the capitalism. But, and I get it, but for me, of all the sports, even though I know all the terrible capitalism that's in boxing and all the corruption that's in boxing, for whatever reason, maybe because I used to fight growing up in the hood, but I really love boxing. And the fact that women are getting the opportunity to get endorsements and be able to make some level of money. Now they're not there where they should be yet, but I feel like it's a lot better than they were, completely in the shadows. So I'm just hoping that that grows, from that. So that's all I had on that to
I
add.
agree. No, I agree. So, do you guys want to get into a little bit of film?
Yeah.
Mahogany, what's the last movie you've seen?
Oddly enough, Coming to America 2
Okay.
was the last film that I saw. Yeah, yep. And then we saw
So,
some day called Yes. It was like some movie with like kids and like these parents like giving kids permission. Uh-oh. Okay. Elle said yes.
aw.
She wasn't good about the last movie. Okay.
Peace, Elle.
Say hi, Ellie.
Hi, Ellie.
Say
Peace.
hi. You
Peace.
say hi? You gonna say hello? Okay. Okay. But yeah, Coming to America 2.
So, Coming to America 1, this is for everybody. Did you go into this kind of like piggybacking off of the greatness and the freshness and the originality of the first one? Or were you kind of like, you knew it was damned not to be in the same category as the first one?
I didn't have expectation. I was just open to see what they were gonna do.
Mm.
What about you, Mahogany?
I'm not gonna hold you up. I think I came into it thinking that it was gonna be awesome. And I kind of had the same expectation of the greatness. But I'm not gonna front. Like my husband was like, no, like I'm not gonna compare, don't compare, don't compare, don't compare. Just watch the movie. And I think and when he said that and watching it with that perspective, it gave it a clean break and allowed me to just kind of enjoy it, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Well, Jaira, did you get a chance to see the film?
Yeah, and I loved it.
I liked it too.
Now, okay, so let me ask you this.
Jaira, did you see Coming to America 1?
Yeah, I did.
And did you enter into it?
You good?
Like thinking like, oh, is it like, to answer Brittany's question, like, did you enter it thinking like it's gonna be the same or different, or were you just open?
Well, I was open, but I also watched it knowing that it wasn't going to be as serious as the first one because it is a second part to it. So usually when they make second parts to movies, it's usually not as good as the first one. But it's not meant for that. It's meant to be like this one was meant to be funny. And it was funny. But I don't know. I just like how they kept the originality of it, like keeping the same characters and adding, new people to make it, into something new for the new generation and the old generation.
I agree. To degrees. Now, I think that the storyline for me could have been better. I think that the storyline could have been like, I'd say 2 points better. Like I think I give it like a 6.5 to a 7. But I definitely like how they infuse parts of the old movie because there are so many people. I'd say 30 and younger who have not seen the first one or understand how great the first one was. So I love how they infused that. I love how they use the same characters. I loved Eddie Murphy's disposition, how, King Joffrey, not to tell the movie, just kind of lost his way a little bit. I liked how a lot of it took place in Africa. It reminded me again of how I think Black Panther, the Marvel movie, drew a lot from Coming to America 1, with the scenes of the dancing and you know what I mean, like the so it just was kind of cool to see. Like I like Eddie Murphy, I do. I'm not a fan of Eddie Murphy, but something about him that I do understand and that I do like as far as his genius. I loved I like the storyline some. Like I think that storyline is actually what made it funny. And I loved his kids. I thought everyone was beautiful. I thought the garments were beautiful. Anything that shows a reflection of Black people from a very surface, like when I say surface, it's not like, oh, a Black lady that's a chemist and that's also a math teacher that's also can fly airplanes, right? They either make us super amazing or they make us super niggerish. So it's kind of good to get the in between, like Black, even though there are royalty, it still gave you a different sense of Black, right? So I appreciated it for that. I knew it wasn't going to be as good as the first one. I could tell by the trailer. I could just tell, but I took it for what it was. I appreciate them doing it. I think if anything, it'll inspire more curators to do things outside the box, come up with different storylines, plot twists. I think that at the least it'll inspire people to make different and original films. I think at the least it'll force generations to go back and see the first one. I think it's a great intergenerational conversational piece. So for that, they get an A+ for me.
Okay, Mahogany, what is your critique of the film?
So I guess I have
both sides.
I guess I have both sides. So I guess from someone who saw the first one, who actually saw the first one like in the movies, Coming to America and Friday, definitely like cult favorites, right? And thinking about a Friday, right, that had a sequel and then had a third movie, right? And though the second Friday was not as iconic as the first Friday, it was still good, right? You think about, I just saw another movie that I just recently saw was To All the Boys I Ever Loved, right? And that too is like a 3-part movie, right? Whereas the first movie is great and the second movie is great and the third movie is even better, right? So I just feel like I'm grateful that Eddie Murphy and that they heard people's cries for like a second one. I think that, in the midst of pandemic, in the midst of craziness, how delightful it's to us to have something kind of to distract us that's like lighthearted, i.e. Coming to America too. So I think, for it serving that purpose, it was cool. But again, I think for it to be so iconic and for it to feel like they were trying to figure out the storyline and how to piece things together to make it make sense, it felt like the storyline or the plot kind of felt like a car, like a good old reliable car, but it's the wintertime and it takes a minute for it to get started up. And this is one of those days. So it took like 20 minutes for the car to kind of get started. But then once it got started, it was great. That was what Coming to America 2 was for me personally. Like, I just felt like it was hard for them to make the beginning of it all make sense. And then once it got rolling, it was good. It was like, oh, this is cool. And I felt like I really appreciated I did love the way that they pictured Africa, or sections of Africa, and Black people. I thought that was beautiful. I think that we need to be seen in a regal light. So anything that does that, I think Ruth Carter killed it with the costume. And and I loved how like up to date it was, right? That it's like, okay, in reality, like, yes, we are in different continents. I mean, we are in that continent in different countries, rocking Puma and killing it, right? And figuring out ways to be like fly. So I thought the fashion was everything. What else? I love the son. I love that they gave a newcomer like such an opportunity. I think he did a great job. And I did think that some of it was just a bit corny. It was kind of just like, I mean, yeah, it just was like, okay, it was like, the first Coming to America, it was just so much organic. Like, this is funny, like point blank, like funny. And I felt like there were so many moments in the film where the funny was forced, but then there were genuinely funny moments that were great. And all the cameos of the original cast, that was awesome. So yeah, I don't know. I think we should have had high expectations because it was such an iconic film. And I think we just given it a pass because it's COVID and it's Eddie Murphy. But in real life, nah, B.
Jaira, you said you loved it. Like, let's hear your perspective.
Well, like I said, I've seen the original one. I was looking at it from a different perspective. I wasn't looking at it to be the most amazing film. I wasn't looking at it to be, the best it can possibly be. I was just looking at it as just how they, just seeing the characters, how they've aged, and how everyone is older, has kids, and just how everyone changed over the years. I just liked how, they kept the same characters. Like, it would have been different if the character if Eddie Murphy's character was someone else. Like, if it wasn't Eddie Murphy, what if it was someone else? Like, or like, they didn't change anyone, everyone was the same. And they just actually, included more people. Like Wesley Snipes and things like that, which made it a lot funnier during his different scenes that he had within the movie. But I don't know. I feel like, honestly, to go there, I feel like it could have been better, but I don't know. I just like the overall what they were trying to do, I guess. But it could have been better in my perspective, to be honest.
There we go. But you know what's up. We giving it a pass because it's Eddie Murphy and it's COVID, and we happy just to get some Black joy in our lives. Yeah. But we know what's up.
The whole movie was actually filmed majority of the movie was filmed at Rick Ross's house.
Which he was great. Wasn't he great? I thought, even though he has 2 seconds, like, I was like, oh, he was really good.
Yeah, he was.
He did a good job. Yeah, y'all know me. I would say, man, okay, first of all, I gotta keep it a buck. Like, that choreography was, I mean, I don't want to say it was trash, but okay, so Fatima
basura.
But Fatima did the choreography. Okay. Now, Fatima, for those who don't know, is a well-respected, world-renowned, legendary hip-hop choreographer. If you've seen any music video from the 90s, Fatima did that choreography. Okay. But what I don't like is, like, so in the first Coming to America, even though they did take liberties, right, with the choreography, there was still a level of tradition in it, if that makes sense. I feel like this choreography was literally just kind of like a bootleg hip hop video.
They tried so hard to appeal to, I think, this generation, which was funny.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, I hear younger people say they really liked it. And I think that in doing that, they really missed opportunities to just make it really good just because.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like okay, so the choreography, that was one. I feel like the choreography was kind of, half-assed. I'm gonna keep it a buck. It was kind of half-assed choreography. Like, and I love Fatima, much respect, no disrespect, which is like what that comedian say, whenever disrespect is coming, people say no disrespect. But I don't mean to be, disrespect, but the choreography was just horrible. I feel like, I do appreciate that they gave the young brother and the other younger comedians and newer comedians, I like seeing them in the film. But like Lunel, she didn't have no lines. And I was like, why is Lunel in this movie and she's not talking? She's mad funny. So it was like nothing for her character to do. They didn't write her actually like into it as an actual character. Like that kind of frustrated me, just like seeing her and waiting to see who she was gonna be in the film, and then all she was doing was just sitting in every scene. Like that was frustrating to me. I feel like the storyline was terrible. Like what I did not appreciate, like, and this maybe it's me, maybe I'm super sensitive. P Group said, oh, you just sensitive. What I did not like is the optics, okay, of this dark-skinned woman from the hood that's like the like so-called like terrible baby mama, that's so like just this person that it was kind of like the person they made fun of. She was tall, she was dark, and what you would call like Africanoid features, and she was supposed to be like unattractive, and then it was the light-skinned woman, with the long hair, slim, that was supposed to be like, okay, she's the dream girl. Like they still, like, for me, that they still kept with that motif. Like it was trash in the 80s, but it's definitely trash in 2021. Like that hurt me a lot, because I was like, damn, like,
so it's hard, right? So
yeah.
it's kind of just like, okay, Audra Day gets a Golden Globe for playing Billie Holiday, who happens to be, addicted to heroin, right? So it's kind of just like you're torn, because it's like, man, look at the opportunity, but then, okay, look at the role, right? And so it's the same thing for me. Like I was happy to see Leslie Jones and maybe not a Tiffany Haddish, right? Initially, because it's kind of like, man, she actually was funny, like no holds bars. Like she was really funny in her role, and she didn't like overdo it. It was just like, no, you're funny. This is funny, right? But I didn't even think about that. That's so true. I didn't even think about it from that perspective, Piper. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like in the storyline, right? When they mentioned, like, when he was reminiscing about, I guess, when he was drugged, and he thought back to like we had sex with, and it was like the way they described her, it was horrible. Like the descriptions they were using, like all the way through, and she was the butt of the jokes. Like, yeah, she's a comedian, I get it, but I don't like those optics that, the way that they were together in that way. And then, I mean, I appreciate that she got paid and she had the role and all that. I was also looking forward to a different type of storyline. Like, I didn't like that storyline. I mean, it could be true, whatever, but I didn't like.
I mean, listen, if we're completely honest,
mm-hmm.
the same way the choreography was slapped together is the same way the film was slapped together. I think that they kind of got the ball rolling, and they started on something that was good 4 years ago, right? Whenever they started. And then I think maybe, you ever see a film and you can tell where they ran out of money at?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was just kind of one of those situations where I don't think it was a ran out of budget kind of thing, but I think it was a matter of man, if we wait too much longer, the relevancy is going to run out. I don't know. We got to figure out how to just get this out. And that I feel like that is just what it was all about. Like I think they tried to think of innovative ways to give new and give old. And then it was like, at this point, it's like, man, let's just get some writers together. We just got to get it out.
Yeah, that's how I felt they did it, because that storyline to me was painful. It hurt. And I really kind of wish, like, I mean, I get it, you know, shoot, all of us have like challenging relationships with our dad. Maybe not you, Jaira, but you know what I'm saying? Like, everyone has that kind of daddy trauma thing going on. But I'm just saying, like, you know, just the fact to like make it like that it's like in the film, they made it like that she was such a terrible person that he could have, you know, been with, if that makes sense. And like that was funny. Like, I just wish that it was a different
that the dark-skinned woman who didn't have to be the butt of the joke.
I just wish it like, okay, I get it. Like, he was supposed to have a one-night stand, blah, blah, but I didn't like that the way that they were like, oh, how she was ugly. She was the, you know, like they made it like she was the worst thing to ever be with. And that really hurt me a lot. Like, I was like, I don't like that. I don't like that part of that. That was really terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't like bringing that into 2021.
Yeah, I mean, and I think especially, right, I mean, I've definitely, it's sad that we're even still having this kind of conversation, but even when you think about the first movie, somebody brought something up and was like, man, it would have been so dope to see the few, like, where her sister is now, right? It was again, that same kind of motif, right? The dark-skinned girl, you know, it's kind of like, oh, you always win, right? Like, I never win, right? You always get the prince, right? So even that, you know,
yeah, they didn't bring those two characters back. Like, even if they would have been different people, it's almost like her sister was like erased from the
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, she wasn't even in the mix. You know.
All right, wait. Was her dad in it?
Her dad?
Yeah, her dad was in
her dude.
Okay.
Remember, her dad was there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, I mean, yeah, like that kind of, you know, that type of thing, you know, like and just the fact, like what the ways in which that they were bringing the ideas, I didn't think it was clever. I didn't think the humor was clever. I thought they brought a lot of really hurtful, negative, painful stereotypes, and we're continuing to make that funny, that the center of jokes. And and those are things that are linked to identity and all this kind of stuff. And for me personally, it wasn't funny. I'm going to keep it a buck, because I don't like bringing that stuff into 2021. There's so much stuff that they could make humor out of, right? Like I love the part about how they brought back the, you know, what was that movie, Trading Places, you know? And remember the painting with the Dukes? With the when he went to go get the job,
that was cool. Yeah,
that was great. That's funny. And then when he told him off, like blah blah blah, that was funny. Like, that was good, right? You know, the whole thing, like with I feel like what's the name's role? I loved him. Tracy Morgan was great. No, he's always great. Shouts out to Brooke.
But that's what I mean. Like, I feel like they were so. Like I said, it feels like they couldn't figure out what to do with the first 20 minutes and how to get the car started. And then once the car got started, they could have done without some of the corny, funny moments, because the heart of the film, like the whole idea of like the ideas of like being your own man, right? And how I did like the son's love interest. I thought that I thought that the way that was, and that's how queens really are, right? It's like you're able to speak life into who your partner is. You're able to kind of like have room to give them counsel or to guide them. And she basically was kind of responsible for him deciding to like be his own self. So I thought that was really cool. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that they would have spent less time like shitting on Leslie and like a bit more time developing a bit more of the characters in that type of way. Even when they went back to Queens, you know, I mean, I just feel like all the writing, that's what it is. And I'm gonna keep it a buck. I feel like Eddie Murphy had his hand in the writing. I saw he was a producer, but all of that feels like Eddie Murphy was doing the writing. And
It does.
Eddie Murphy is not a good writer. He can deliver the jokes, but he can't write good jokes. He's not a good joke writer.
I mean, it's very clear that whoever wrote the first Coming to America definitely was not involved in this new iteration, because it lacks so much of, like I said, I mean, it just lacked so much classic. It was so many moments that were just like, really, guys? I mean, and even the fact that they had it felt like a white person wrote it. I know that sounds bad.
No,
I
that's
mean,
what I'm saying. It feels like a white person wrote it.
Yeah.
But the reason that I feel like Eddie Murphy did the writing is because it does feel like a white person wrote it. So it feels like a Black person that is so disconnected that like thinks that all those tired jokes were funny.
I mean, now that you're talking about that, I mean, after like Norbit is definitely another movie that's like a horrible Black woman. Like, you know, like it's a horrible way to look at a Black woman. His movies are corny though. Even like Nutty Professor is corny. Like I think he's just a corny writer, or I think his concepts are funny. Like they're so corny that it's funny. So I definitely can see why y'all say what y'all saying about this one, the second one.
Yeah. But I'm glad all those Black people got paid. I'm glad everybody looked good. The stylist, whoever did the hair and the
listen,
and clothes,
Ruth Carter.
Okay.
Carter did her thing. I don't know who the hairstylist was. The hairstylist kind of like loses points for when she put like just earrings as hoops in one of the scenes with it was like, why y'all did that? Like, why y'all got these dollar store hoops in this girl's hair? Like, I know the whole rings and hair thing is cute, but this is too upscale for you to be using earrings as hoops. Like, I can see that this is an earring. Y'all need to do better. But everything else, they was fire.
Yeah. So that was cool. Yeah. And, you know, I'm just happy that, you know, people are doing good in Hollywood, that they can, you know, waste money like that. Nah, but yeah. Well, I'm glad you liked it, Jaira. Shouts out to Gen Z. So I don't know. So did y'all want to do one more film, or we should keep it moving?
It's up to you guys. I'm trying
I feel like we could keep it moving. I feel like
okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So I'll just let y'all know really briefly. Well, I don't even have to let y'all know because I know y'all are up on stuff like this, but yesterday or early this morning, we entered into this new moon. Y'all know next Saturday, or this coming Saturday, is the first day of spring, right? So we know that new moons, you know, typically kind of let us understand like these new beginnings. And even what's interesting, you know, we have you know, it's like an interesting phenomenon, right? Like in December, we celebrate, you know, the so-called birth of Jesus Christ, right? And we have, you know, this period of time, which is in winter, which is like the equinox, when you can see these three stars, and that is akin to the three wise men. And there's a whole you know, cosmology mixed with, you know, spiritual science around that. But what is known is that Jesus Christ was actually born in the spring. And they say that he was born approximately right around this time period. And so it's a very powerful, energetic time, because also today was or is daylight savings, and so we've sort of shifted so that we can catch up and all this kind of thing. But in general, when we're looking at new moons, like I said, we're talking about fresh energy and new energy. And this new moon is in the season of Pisces. And Pisces is known to be this very creative sign. Erica Badu is Pisces. So she's a typical Pisces. So everything you think about her, like think of, the sign Pisces. But regardless of the sign that the new moons fall in, they offer us a chance to be reflective and pretty much clarify our big picture visions, and just help us center ourselves and heighten our self-awareness, as well as our faith in ourselves. And so this month's new moon, we want to dig deeper spiritually, right? All of our romantic selves will be heightened, our artistic selves, our creativity. So I could say more, but I think that no matter what, right now, use this new moon in Pisces energy. Let's, I think it's giving us this permission to let go of a lot of our rational thoughts and be able to, choose our own adventures, right? And, for many of us, right, we want to kind of not be so fixed on our rationality per se, and just be open, and be adventurous, and open ourselves up. And so, trust our intuition, right? Look at our dreams, and trust our emotions, and allow ourselves to be led in that way a little bit. And so just want to leave y'all with that. Does that, I don't know if that resonates with anyone or how y'all feel about
Definitely. That's good.
Yeah, it feels good. Okay, cool. So with that, let's dig into you, Mahogany Jones. Let's hear what's going on with you. Tell us about what is the newest thing that you got going on right now for the people.
So I would say the newest thing that's out is my EP Floating. And the newness that is on the way. I'm working alongside yet again with my husband and his label, The 30s, and we're working on newness now. So that was an EP. So the goal is to go for an album, which, I'm really looking forward, and I have been just kind of like writing and working on. So it's felt good. And so now we're just kind of in the throes of just getting the production right and putting some stuff together. So yeah, that's what we got cooking up on these parts.
So yeah, tell us about Floating a little bit.
Floating is really, I'm really proud of this EP. Initially it was going to be called Indigo. And indigo is kind of like a bluish purplish color, and it's kind of the color outside. It's like super dark before dawn hits. And I just feel like it was really representative of just kind of the space I was just in my life, just personally and as an artist. So I really dealt with just a lot of it was just a lot of highs and just feeling. I think the way that I kind of describe it is I feel like I started this journey in my career at the shore of the ocean and just was like, okay, I'm going to get across to the other side. And I feel like by the time I had gotten to 2018 in my career, I just kind of felt like I was in the middle of the ocean. And it's like, man, I've made it so far, but I just feel like I have so much farther to go. And I'm not really sure how to get to the other side. And, just a lot of questions, with music changing and different things being popular, and me being a woman and just kind of like being a woman in hip hop. Just so many things in the air, just like, man, is my sound still relevant? Do I still have things to say as an artist? Just so many questions. And I feel like floating as an EP is kind of like the audio representation of just like that period. And it's good though, because I feel like I really kind of, once I push past all the questions, this EP is me giving myself permission to express myself without the limitations of other people's expectations. It's kind of just like, I want to unapologetically be Black. I want to unapologetically tell my truth about how it's hard to rise above people just not wanting to see you win just because. I want to talk about just, regrets, right? And just like, okay, man, maybe I missed it. Maybe I did deal in my lower self. Maybe I was struggling with ego in some things. Like maybe I do have some things to just kind of apologize for. And still just kind of, get a little braggadocio on, let people know like, okay, I'm still out here chefing it up. I'm still out here serving these bars. So I feel like it's even though it's 6 songs, or really 7, it's a really well-rounded project and definitely like one of my best.
And then talk about the production.
The production is really, to me, the production is really cool. Again, this project is really cool too, because, I got to work with my husband on it, right? And so getting to do that while I was pregnant and getting to do that in the midst of the onsetting of a pandemic and just realizing like, in the short span of us being together, I had released more music than I had since I dropped my last album, which was Sugar Water. So that was like 2016. So like between 2019 and 2020, we wound up together, like putting out like 3 singles. We released 3 singles. You helped us, release the music video for Elle and the actual EP itself. And so, that was just super dope to me. But watching him like rise as a producer was really dope to me. So I think the production is like, definitely part neo soul, which is something like I just can't let go of as an artist because I love it. But it's got a bop to it. Like that's what they say. Look at me sound like an old person, which I am. But it definitely has bop, and it's really cool.
And so, can you talk about working with your husband, like musically?
Honestly, one of the things I really admire about him is his artistry. Like we met and he was solely an MC, but he was just always super wise. And so honestly, it was really intimidating, and I think sometimes still can be. And it's difficult because I'm one of those people, I've had my hands in the cookie jar in every aspect of my career. And so to kind of be in a space where I don't have to do that and I don't have to be so hands-on and be so involved, and to kind of give over the reins was very hard for me. And Dre is kind of like, look, just trust me, do what I say and just trust me. And it's kind of just like, well, I have an opinion about that. And he's like, no, I'm not interested in your opinion. Trust me, like you like the results, like just roll with it. So I'm growing into this process of his. So it's interesting. There's times where it's amazing because it's like, oh my God, I get to work with my husband. And then there's times where it's no hold bars. Like it's hard because it's like I'm working with my husband. So yeah, it's cool.
And so now with this project, you have, kind of like the range of subject matter. Can you take us through it?
So I think in my explanation, I think I kind of touched on it, so I guess the album opens up, maybe I want to say, I think we'll wait a minute, so that's just me just being honest, like, look, it's been a minute. I apologize for leaving y'all for so long, but I'm still out here and we're not here for the games. So, it's just a fun track, what I'm saying? I guess people would say it's like more up to date. A lot of people like that, or like say it's one of their favorites. Black Girl Magic is just a song celebrating just the beauty of just Black women and just how we're out here. Melanin, I would say, is just kind of like an unapologetically like Black theme song. And I don't think it's something that's just for women. I think my husband kind of gave production to it that really feminized it. But I think the message in it overall is just like, yo, as melanated people, we are to celebrate ourselves and we're powerful and don't sleep on us. Floating, just really just kind of like dealt with just I experienced like a lot of betrayal, and I really actually went through a very like traumatic experience that I'm still kind of like trying to work through and suffer. I'm trying to work through in regards to just anxiety and who to trust and who not to trust. And so that's the song that kind of deals with that. Regrets was a song, just being honest and just saying like, okay, I can see my blind spots and I see areas where I was wrong and I was at fault. And like, I wish we could just live with no regrets, but I definitely have regrets for things that I've done. And I just kind of want to move forward in a way that will create like positive change. And then of course the song dedicated to my daughter. So my daughter is my first child. I just turned 42 this past August. So I was pregnant with Elle when I was 41. Had her when I was 41. So it's definitely a song of me just saying like, I'm not sure what to expect, but I'm just excited for you to come. And that song is so beautiful to me because my husband did a verse on it. And then we had like one of his good friends who happens to be one of my favorite singer-songwriters, Leon Timbo, and he did the chorus for her and for us. And so, that's pretty much the scope of the album.
I love that song so much. That song is so beautiful. It warms my heart like every time I hear it. I love that song so much. I hope she loves it.
I can't wait to see if she likes it. I hope she likes it. It's not like, okay, whatever, mom. Here you go doing your rap thing. Thanks for the song. So we'll see what she thinks about it.
Now you're also an educator,
Yes.
And you do that, like that's pretty much, would you say that's 50% of what you do, or what,
I would say so. And I didn't necessarily, I think I would say it's 50%. And I would say it's 50% because I think, I was talking to somebody the other day and I was just saying like, what makes you do what you do, always remember your why, right? Because it can be difficult. It could be discouraging, it could be daunting, but remember your why. And I think the same why that I create music is the same why that I'm an artist educator, is because like, I'm just grateful that somebody empowered me with voice, and gave me the tools and encouraged me and told me like, man, you're a good writer. And I just feel like teachers have had such a great role in my life. Mentors have had such a great impact on my life. When I think about just our relationship, and the years that we got to work together, working on the foundation. And then, the few things that we've gotten to work together to do, We Found Hip Hop, or when I think about Tony Blackman and just other women, who have been in my life and have been willing to kind of like pour into me. That just matters. It's important. I think that idea of mentorship and educating is really key to empower people. And so it's my passion.
Can you talk about like what you've done in terms of education, like, maybe some of the organizations you've worked with and, where working in education has taken you?
So I have worked, I forgot the name of the organization. It was like a PAL that was, or a version of PAL that was in Detroit. And so I coming from Tony Blackman's Freestyle Union and just that whole school of thought, right? Of just like freestyle and ciphers. When I first moved to Detroit, just on some like, yo, I just want the work to continue. Like I just did like this small thing on my own. And then somebody heard about it and asked me to do something at Talman Rec Center, which was on the east side. And so I started like developing classes that were kind of less focused on freestyling, but more focused on the mechanics of emceeing. And then did those, and then heard about what you were doing with the foundation at 5E. And then we kind of had like a small kind of like artist development thing happening. And that was really cool. And then in doing that work, got invited to do a workshop with Inside Out, and I didn't even know what Inside Out was at the time. And it was, and I think I did a hip hop workshop. I did an MCing workshop, and they were like, "Man, this is great." And I was like, "Man, it's the best experience ever." And I want to say maybe that was like 8 years ago. And then I asked if I could do more, and they said, "Well, we focus on poetry," and so started doing workshops with them. Before that, I want to say maybe 15 years ago, I had started working with the Union, which is another nonprofit in Detroit, but focuses more on life skills. And so facilitated that, helped develop some curriculum for them, and then eventually helped develop a program that actually turned into a performing arts camp, which is called Keys to Life. And then eventually just had an opportunity to audition for an ambassadorship program with the State Department through American Music Abroad. And that gave me the opportunity to kind of like take my experience global. And so I've been able to not just only like, perform and share my art, but also to artist educate and be a cultural ambassador for about 18 countries so far, now 19. So it's been a really full journey. And I'm still currently working with Inside Out, still currently working with the Union, but virtually. And yeah, it's been dope.
And what's the status of the Arts Abroad program? Is that on pause or?
So it was real. I mean, yeah, that's a whole long story. But honestly, it's been, I guess, a blessing because those doors have opened back up. So I want to say I was doing a lot of work with both American Music Abroad and Next Level. And then wonky things happened with Next Level. And then things were kind of like paused. And then recently I just did some programming with American Music Abroad and with Arts Envoy. So I did a program recently for Nepal, and it was just like a conversation, which was cool. And then I recently just did a virtual concert for the U.S. Embassy in Tanzania this past Friday. And that was really cool. And then I did like a Women's Month, I guess, interview conversation, and that was like in February. So I guess as we are trying to get to a place of our new normalcy and we're trying to figure out how the world opens back up, that work will open up again and not just virtually.
Mm-hmm. And then take us a little bit further back to making some of these classic records and projects that that we all know and love you for.
I mean, I don't know. I think like, so it's great to work with my husband now and create new music. And even with this project, my longtime collaborator, Ron Lee, was a part of it. But so much of just being a Detroiter is what I think inspired a lot of the music that I created for most of like my recording career. And yeah, I just, my first album was called Morphed, and it was just kind of like, I guess, a journey of what my spiritual walk was. Ellie, what are you saying, mommy? Yeah? Okay. And then, yeah, then I had a project that was more, I guess, I want to say, I guess, and like an activist project called Pure, and that was pretty fresh. And then Sugar Water, which was like my ode to soul. And I don't know, it's kind of like people ask if you have a favorite. And I don't know, maybe as you get older, you get better. But I want to say that as far as a body of work goes, like Sugar Water was definitely my favorite album. And I think for two reasons. I think spiritually, like I understood that even though I was like, a lot of my music was based in my faith and being a Christian. But I think God kind of just like, and I thought like, okay, well, in order to express my Christianity, my faith, like I have to do gospel hip hop. And I think God was like, well, why don't you just try to live the gospel? And why don't you just make good hip hop music? Like, don't do me any favors. Like, just live your life and do well and make great music. It's like, oh, oh, I can do that. That's a thing. I can focus on really trying to live out these principles, and just make dope music. Okay, bit. And I think that Sugar Water is a reflection of that. So out of that, some of my favorite songs, Goals and Bring Back the Soul. Yeah. And I think the same thing for this current project too.
And so can you talk about the collaboration ship with Ironically?
Man, brother from another mother. So I think our story is just so funny and it's so cool because I met him because of his at the time fiance. It was a woman's event. And I think it was called Virtual Sisters Explosion or whatever. And my friend had invited me to come and perform. And I was, I'm a New Yorker initially. So he saw me. He's like, what is she wearing? I think I had on these and it was, I had money. I was balling. Like I had these like amazing, like DKNY, like cow pants and like this ripped off shirt and like this cuff and my hair was short. He's like, oh, she is doing the most and she thinks she's dope. She's probably trash. And he heard me spit and was like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. I heard his fiance at the time spit, who is now his wife, I think maybe 15 years in. And she was dope, but her production was dope. And I was like, I went up to her afterwards. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, yo, because I was telling my producer at the time who was in New York before I had even thought about it, Detroit, how I had this desire. I'm like, man, I want to make music like if India Ari was like a hip hop artist, right? Like if Jill Scott did hip hop, like that's what I want my music to sound like. I want it to have soul. I want to do like hip hop soul. And my producer at the time was like, that sounds dumb. Like, ain't nobody doing that. That's not even what we on right now. That's not even the sound. This is like maybe 2002. So I was like, well, I think it could be done. I think it's a thing. And so I heard her rap and I thought she was incredible. And I was like, yo, who does your production? She's like, oh, my fiance. We meet up, we speak, we talk, we exchange numbers. You know how you say, you're like, I'm gonna get up with you, but it never happens. But we got up. It was like maybe days later. We talked. And at the time I worked for a school system, always working with some kids, working in school. And I had a winter break coming up. And you get about a week or 2 weeks off. And I was like, yo, look, let's do this. My winter break is coming up. He's like, yo, you can come and you can stay with me. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. So the first time I had come up, I think I heard about Monica Blair. So that was crazy. And we went hard. I think we made about 4 songs in the trip. And then I was like, well, let me come up spring break. He's like, bet, you can come stay at my father's house. You can stay again. I said, okay, cool. Same thing. We made another 4 songs. It was amazing. Actually met his best friend. And we actually wound up having a thing, which was cool, actually getting engaged. But that's a whole nother story. And then I said, well, look, we making this music, or let's do an album. And he's like, okay, bet. He's like, yo, you should come up for the summer. I was like, you let me stay with you for the summer? He's like, yeah, let's get this working, rent free. Like, let's just go for it. And I was like, okay, well, I was living in Brooklyn at the time. And I said, well, guess what, friends? Let's have a going away party. And my friends in Brooklyn threw me a nice little going away party. I said, well, and it's the longest I had been away. I had traveled, I had been overseas, but I had never been away from home for more than like 2 weeks at a time. Came to Detroit and said, well, I'm gonna come here. I'm gonna lose 20 pounds. I'm gonna finish the album and let's see what happens. And that's exactly what happened. I had lost 20 pounds. I've done about 10 songs towards the album and came home with a serious boyfriend who, like I said, turned into my fiance and knew like I could live here. And was like, man, I love Detroit. Like this is my home. And a few years later, that's what happened.
Wow. So take us to what the work you were doing. Well, we'll go backwards. So let's talk about the foundation.
Yes.
Teach us about that. We always talk about it and I've heard about it, but I don't know if Jairus necessarily heard about it per se.
So the foundation, such a magical part of my life, for so many reasons. So like I said, I'm initially a New Yorker, and And I think a lot of my philosophy and practice and just belief in like what artistry and activism are supposed to kind of go hand in hand, come from just the culture that we were in. I started my artistry in the late 90s, which I would say, I guess kind of golden era hip hop, but definitely like golden era of like hip hop and poetry in New York, right? It's like everybody, it's just like you could go to Brooklyn Moon and see Erykah Badu do a set, and then go to New York Poets Cafe and hear Mos Def kill it and Talib Kweli kill it, right? So before they were like household names, right? I remember what was the thing that the Roots and Jill Scott and all of them was doing when they brought it to the city.
You talking about Black Lily?
Black Lily, exactly. Black Lily was popping. I remember I had met Common a few times. Yeah, it was such an amazing time. Saul Williams before Slam. Who's the actor? That's Wood Harris. Wood Harris, who's an amazing actor at the time, what's the matter? Was primarily doing spoken word. Yeah, it was just Mums the Schemer, who was on Oz. So just so many people. Jessica Caramore, thick in the scene. And all of us, we knew we had a responsibility. It's just like, okay, you can't just make music. Like you have to, it's like, okay, I remember going to different protests with a lot of the same artists that I did spoken word with, right? I remember us having like much needed conversations, and just being about the work. So when I moved to Detroit, I was kind of like in a quandary because I feel like a lot of that wasn't really available. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. Ellie, what's the matter? What's the problem?
It's getting late. Ellie's like, I want to go to sleep.
You want to go to sleep? You gonna go to sleep?
Yeah, Ellie wants to get some rest.
Mommy gonna let you down, okay? Okay. She's usually asleep by now, and I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. She's probably sleepy.
She's sleepy, but as soon as she's not gonna lay down, and if I leave her, she's definitely gonna start wilding out. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me just sit here and see what happens. Okay. So I was just in a quandary because I was in Detroit, and I, of course, was still doing music, and the union, we were still doing like different work in the community, but it was like, I guess only for Christians, you know what I mean? That I was getting to work with the union, and I was like, man, where the activists at? Like, where my tree huggers at? Like, where are my hip hop artists who like doing dope music, but about service? And then, and at the time, oh my God, how can I forget? I had also met Elle, who at the time, Alana or Invincible, but I met her in New York, and along with the Anomalies. So when I came to Detroit, I was surprised to find her here. I actually found out she was here before I found out Jessica had come back. So I think Jessica at the time was like in Atlanta. And so we had kind of kept in touch, and we would kick it here and there. But then I remember getting a text from her, and she's like, yo, there's this open mic event, and it's just for women. And for me, this was like, I guess, the beginning of my transition from like only like performing at churches, and just really wanted to find like a community of artists to like kick it and build with, and being kind of like scared. I was definitely checking. I was like, man, it's open mic for women. I'm nervous. I want to go though. I can't wait. Like, this is what I need. This is what I've wanted. And I remember meeting you. And, just, you were so humble, especially because I had heard about like all that you had done. I'd heard that you were this amazing, fashion photographer, and that you too were coming from New York. And I just remember meeting you and meeting Sakari, and just meeting like, I remember meeting Cindy and just coming to the first spot. This was before the building. I forgot, what was that space that y'all was in? It was on the same block as the building, but it was different.
It was on Wabash. It's a bike shop now.
Wow. I remember coming that first night and seeing the band and the DJ, and I think B Girls were there. It was just euphoric. It was just like, man, this is heaven. And, you know, and I remember Cindy having Treasure there, right? So Treasure must have been like 3. Treasure's now, how old is Treasure now?
Shoot, Treasure's in high school.
She's in high school, right? Crazy. But it was just beautiful. I'm like, man, look at this space. And I don't even think, I think I had been in spaces in New York that was similar, but never anything like it. Like to see all the elements together functioning, to see women in primary roles functioning, and it to be part open mic, part community space, cool enough for like a 3-year-old to be at, right? And it'd be late, you know, it'd be like 10 o'clock, right? But it's like, okay, this woman feels safe. She's here with her kid. It's nothing crazy going on. It's all good vibes. We're all kicking it. We're all just practicing what we love and just being who we are. And everybody has room to be who they are. And I just was like, man, this is dope. And I remember hearing you just kind of share about the vision. I think Corona was on board. I don't know who was hosting it at the time.
We didn't have like a regular.
You didn't have a regular host. So
I was doing the hosting.
Yes. When we that's right. Oh my God, that's right. So I remember we moved into the new space and it was cool. And then we were having trouble. Like it was kind of just like I guess they just didn't want to see Black people in that space. They didn't want to see Black people winning. And we just kept getting harassed for different like ridiculous made up violations, whatever. And then we had to transition. And when we transitioned from the space, we went to Old Miami. And it was kind of just, it was a slow burn, right? It was kind of just like, okay, we got our few faithfuls, you know, Soup, B-Side, who else? Who else was some of the old faithfuls? DJ Lowe's. Oh my gosh, right? That's right, DJ Lowe's. But all men, right?
All the like
right. Our few women faithfuls, it was me, it was Knick Knack, it was me, it was Knick Knack, it was Cindy, it was Aisha.
B-Girl Mama.
B-Girl Mama, definitely staple. Who else? I want to say a few others. We had a few other like women practitioners who were like faithful. How can I forget? DJ don't
Mel
do me like this.
Lahedi.
Mel, that's right. Mel Wonder.
DJ
Lahedi, yep. And yeah, like we would just come in.
Sarah Lee.
Oh my God, Sarah Lee was so good. She was Sarah Lee was like our Rage.
Yeah. She was like Lady Rage.
She was like Lady Rage.
It was, it was so many women. Venus and Native Child, and it was just like so many women that I could just go on and on and on. Yellow Cake.
Yellow Cake, amazing vocalist. She's still doing her thing too.
Yeah. Kai Pai.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So wait, let's go back. Let's go back because I think you're kind of forwarding that conversation only because the Kai Pai really got to come into being Kai Pai because of the foundation, right? Your Jades got to come into being a Jade because of the foundation. I will say, I definitely got to, I always felt good about my skills as an MC, but I think as an artist and having a certain level of, notoriety and, you rock for Detroit, I don't think that would have happened without you giving, how can I say, you attempted to empower us, I think, in the best way, in the most ideal way that you should empower people, right? Is that it's kind of like, okay, let me give you an opportunity to take ownership. Like, let me give you an opportunity to buy stock and be invested in this movement. Because it's really for you, right? It's kind of like you didn't rap. Even though you do, you actually do all the elements and you're pretty decent at each of them. But it wasn't like, okay, I'm doing this because I need a platform, right? It was because, we had similar hearts. We came from spaces where it wasn't odd for women to be practitioners and to love the genre. Right. In fact, in New York, there were many women who were thriving. You know, we come from the what's and the anomalies and the Apani bee flies and, you know, it's like solstices and just it's like, oh, it's nothing for, you know, your Rockefellers. It's nothing for it to be a B girl. It's nothing for it to be a woman MC. It's nothing for it to be a woman writer, a woman graffiti artist. It's nothing for it to be women DJs, right? But in Detroit, I don't think that was really a conversation. And I just feel like your ideal to create kind of like this utopia and this safe space for women to be able to come. And I think too, I'm happy that you invited us to be a part of the conversation, because I think initially the conversation was that like men didn't feel as if they were invited. And I think that it's kind of like, okay, if we're going to make anything that is women centered, it's reality of being sustained without the support and the engagement of men isn't really something that's going to happen. I think it's the same way if we're having like reconciliation conversations around race and it's like all a bunch of Black people in the room, right? And it's like if white people are not a part of that conversation to kind of, I won't say that, if people in power are not a part of the conversation to make sure that people who are marginalized do not have room and space, or do have room and space, then it's almost null and void. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
if you want to shift culture, everyone's got to pull.
Everybody's got to be all hands on deck. Yeah. And I think that's one thing that I really appreciated, that we got to be a part of the conversation, that it wasn't just okay, it's going to be all women and no men are not invited. And I think for a while that is what they tried to say it was. It was like, oh, well, you know, men are not invited. It's like, no. The brothers are invited. Now, should the brothers have, you know, be able to co-opt that situation? Nah. Should it be that, you know, it's so brother heavy focused that women don't feel comfortable? Nah. But I found that it just took so long for us to create a space where women felt comfortable, that a lot of times it's like, okay, we have this great space, but like 60% of who would rock or do something would be men. Because women would just be so held back.
And you know I have a couple of favorite things. One, do you remember before we used to make a joke and say that it was like church, because a lot of times new artists, right, new young women would come and they might have like never rocked the mic before in public, right? They might have been like, hey, I'm blah blah, and then we go, okay, go, and they'd be like, no, and then, you know, like I would push them or something, and then they would do it, and then as soon as they would finish, they would run out of the gallery and go outside and throw up. I remember like 5 or 6 people did that. And then I remember like, Piper, don't push people. Don't make it nice to be like, but she says she wants to do it.
No, you got to.
Space for her. Yeah. And, you know, everybody was loving her. And then I remember we would ask, like, why are you crying? Like, why are you going up and crying? And they would always say the same thing, like, I've been doing blah blah blah, right? Like I've been writing or I've been rhyming, but I've never done it in front of people, and it was my first time. They loved it, and it was like, but why are you crying? Like, why are you throwing up and crying? Because they were like, I gave it my all, out there, and I never did it before, and I made them feel too vulnerable, and they felt too exposed. And that would be like a thing. And it was like we would say they got the Holy Ghost or something. We used to make a joke. But I think that you were really instrumental in nurturing, developing, cultivating, teaching, inspiring. And I appreciate your lyrical, you know, agility and skill. And I appreciate how people would come and, you know, try to get on the mic, and then you would eat them up, but you would eat them up loving. right?
With love. We are, but you know what? And I think too, like, I just love the space for that too. I mean, I feel like I've fallen off with my freestyle because I didn't get to have weekly opportunities. We kind of starting it back up. Tony Blackman's doing this thing called the Lyrical Cipher. Yeah, Lyrical Meditation Cipher. But yeah, like that was everything. That was the dojo, right? So it's like New York City had like end of the week. And it's like, man, we had our own dojo and it was the foundation. And I think it was such a magical time because I think everybody knew it. Like everybody knew, like silently, right? It's like, I just can remember like times where at Old Miami, we had gotten up to like maybe how many guests you think we had sometimes, like back to back? Like we just had crazy weeks where it was crazy.
It would just be like, it would just be back to back to back to back to back. And what the funny part too was how we would say, okay, it's no misogyny. And then guys would come and then they'd be all vexed. It's women because they want to do misogyny. And we'd be like, no, you can't do that here.
Yeah.
I remember how the women used to be like, hey, but I should be able to do misogyny because I'm gay. And we'd be like, no, it's no misogyny, yo. Like, what do you not understand about that?
But and it's so crazy. Like, I just remember the fight for that. Like, I don't understand why that was such a big fight. It was like, just like, man, you could even do a song about like robbing and killing, which we don't advocate, right? But if that's what you about, that's your content. Okay, cool. You just can't disrespect women. So just don't rob and kill somebody's mama, right?
And right? Like funny, like everyone would come and then they'd be so stumped. Like, wait a minute,
well, what can I rap about?
But let's go back because you mentioned so let's go back to rhyme like a girl. You've done with Tony.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Sorry, Ella's having a moment. Like, this is a riveting conversation.
Elle is like, Bobby. But I don't know. Hey, Brittany, are you there? You there, Brittany? I think Brittany fell asleep. I was gonna ask Brittany a question about her rhyming and beat making. And the things
Brittany's rhyming and beat making?
Yeah, she's been rhyming and making beats and stuff. And
what?
And Deja's not with us, but Deja's also been making beats, and Jira also makes beats.
Wow, that's pretty fresh.
Yeah, this is the hip-hop crew. But yeah, I wanted to, because I know that a lot of your foundation is Rhyme Like a Girl, and the work that you've been doing, or you had done, and now are currently doing with Tony. I know that, a lot of what, who you are is kind of, I don't want to say modeled after that, but I'll say influenced by. And so I wanted to kind of dig into that a little bit, like, your experience. And just because Tony is just an icon, so amazing, and Rhyme Like a Girl, it has just, really helped to, nurture so many women MCs and so much greatness for hip hop, for global hip hop, for women in hip hop, and just really, really, excited. I went to Howard with Tony. We were in the final.
What? Shut up.
Together. Yeah, that's how I know Tony's from Howard.
What? Oh my gosh. Yeah, no. That's crazy. Yeah, no. I mean, I definitely, what I'm saying, like, I feel like a lot of my life and a lot of my life's work it is modeled after Tony. I mean, and it wasn't just like, oh, come to the workshop, right? It was, we would stay, I would stay at Tony's house. Tony literally really took and takes the role of mentorship very seriously. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been to I've met Tony's family, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've been to Cali with Tony. You know, I think the idea and the concept of like spirituality and artistry, I really got from Tony. I first met Tony. It's yeah, just the whole way that I even met Tony is interesting to me, because I remember I was on the fence with where I was in my walk with God, and I was just exploring, and I did this thing called Landmark Forum. And I think I was still teetering with just only doing spoken word, but I really wanted to rap, like really, really wanted to rap. Did Landmark Forum and just kind of came to like all these truths about myself. And one, of course, being that I really wanted to MC. She was doing Landmark Forum the same week, and I think she was finishing up hers, and then mentioned Freestyle Union to me. I was like, yeah, you can come and audition. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll audition. And I remember being nervous and trying to get all my stuff together. And I was kind of a half MC. But yeah, Tony's work is so instrumental. And like you said, and not just in the lives of women, you know, it's a lot, you know, I mean, I definitely have been a part of iterations of Rhyme Like a Girl, I think, but more so, I think my roots just kind of speak to Freestyle Union and the work that she did around that, and invited me to be a part of Rhyme Like a Girl, you know? Oh, yeah. Ellie's not gonna
I mean, even now, you know, with the ciphers that Tony's doing, is really just picking that kind of work back up around supporting, you know, women MCs in the journey of being comfortable in one's own body, which is really important, you know, being able to you know, express oneself to the point where, you know, you get a chance to really, you know, say what you want to say and be who you want to be. And I think that, you know, nowadays, I mean, just in the terms of like the MC, the whole MC, the idea of the MC, I should say, is really I don't know, it's just so much pressure to like be a thing, if that makes sense. Like to be like to rhyme a certain way, to have a certain
yeah,
sound.
no, I totally get that. I mean, like I said, I think that I'm definitely grateful for the work of the lyrical meditation cipher that's happening now, you know, and I literally try to, I don't think I've missed a week. You know, it may be a lot going on, but I don't miss because of that. Right. And I feel like the breakdown that I had happened for me in 2018 was that, because like, yeah, now rapping or MCing, you have to be a thing, or you have to, you know, rhyme a certain way, you got to look a certain way. It's so much. And it's like, nah, man, like, yo, make music from your heart, from your life, make good music, and, you know, share your truth and be yourself.
Yeah, like that's really, I'm really excited. And those are on Clubhouse Sundays at, is it noon? You there, Mahogany? I think
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll have it on. Yeah, it's at
it's at noon, right?
Yeah.
Sundays.
Yep, noon to 1.
Yeah, noon to 1 on Clubhouse. So anybody listening, you know, check that out for sure. So let's just can you just tell us, you know, we touched on most of the like modern stuff, but I just want to go back just for a little bit, and then we'll end with this. But I wanted to you know, if you could just touch on a little bit about your, you know, you've had some major success in what we would call mainstream, and I wanted you to touch on that a little bit.
I mean, I think most of it, I guess, is now. I think I'm still trying to figure out like what that looks like. I mean, I guess the marker of what started all would be like, you know, just the whole BT 106 and Park Freestyle Friday thing, which was like way back. And then I think just moving forward,
that like so fast, like as if everybody had the opportunity.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. She's not here for it. Oh, Ellie. Come here, mama.
She's like, I'm sleepy.
Ellie's sleepy. You sleepy? Yeah. Okay. We're
yeah.
Ellie's done.
We'll bring you back.
So, okay.
And when we bring you back, we'll dig into all that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay. Say good night. Say good night, Elle.
Well, before you go, Ellie, let mommy at least tell her, where people could find her and that's about the song about you.
Elle said no. Okay, yes. Available on all streaming platforms. Please hit me up on Instagram too. It's MAHOGANYJONZ. And yeah, Floating is the latest EP, so please check it out. And my other music too as well. Sugar Water, classic, I love. Oh, and yeah, that's that. Go to my website, mahoganyjones.com. And good night.
Good night.
Good night. I'm sorry.
Love you. No, don't be sorry. We love you. We love you too, Ellie.
Love you too.
We gotta get that single, Ellie. That's what she's saying. She's saying.
She's like, forget all this. Get my song.
Yeah. We love you. We love you.
Oh, love you too, Pipe. Love you guys. See you, Brittany. Nice meeting you, Jira.
All right, night.
All right, good night. Peace.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool, huh, Jira?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. I wonder, is Brittany still with us? You there, Brittany? I think Brittany fell asleep. So Jira,
yeah, she definitely did.
Yeah, leave us with some great words.
I just want to say, make sure you all stay safe out there and watch your surroundings, because you never know, there might be a drone watching you. Just kidding, but just make sure that you stay safe and just make sure to stay safe, and make sure you try to learn something new each and every day.
Oh, thank you for that. So then I'll just say, continue listening to Piper Carter Podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe. And we're on all streaming platforms. You can check us out on social media. We have a Facebook group where we have lots of conversation, Piper Carter Podcast. Of course, we are on Instagram, pc.podcast. And yeah, check us out on DetroitIsDifferent.net with all of the other amazing podcasts. And we will see you next
your halo.
week.
Become anything you pray for. In hard times, let God shine. Pave a way if it ain't a way. If you feel afraid, we gon' keep you safe. We gon' teach you how to keep the faith. Jazzy show you how to paint. Or start a business where you ate. Your big brother help you stand tall. Only lessons never lost. Part to see if you can get across. If you fall, learn to shake it off. Be a star in your own sky. Can't wait to hug you, see your soul shine.
Be ever true.
Remember to like, share, subscribe, and always listen on Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Store, and Spotify.